All right, so here's what we're going to do today. We're going to tie a jig, and we are going to focus more on the resin coat than we are the jig, tying the jig itself. We're going to tie this jig up. We're going to put the eyes on. We're going to hit it with the UV resin, and I'm going to show you my full process, what I do with the UV resin. I get a lot of questions on how I cure them. I get a lot of people comments saying they're hearing the UV resin don't cure. And I really think a lot of people, because you'll see this on Amazon, like when you're buying the flashlight or a light to cure UV resin, you'll see that it'll say black light. Black light is not what you're wanting. You're wanting a UV resin light cure flashlight. This is the one I use. Came off Amazon. I think it was like $13-14. The only thing about this is if you're putting on a real thick, heavy coat of UV resin and you're holding that light, it will take a little while to cure the UV resin with this flashlight. And it will go through quite a few batteries. You'll see it takes 3 AAA batteries. And I know there is a lot of other ways to cure these. And you'll hear a lot of people say, well, you can get this UV resin cure box. I'm in the process of working on one, and when I get it completely done and it cures good, I'll do a video with that and show you how I done it. But right now, what I'm using is a flashlight, and then I'm putting it underneath the fingernail lamp. But we're gonna go through that whole process on how I do that. That's the UV resin that I use most of the time. This came from either Hobby Lobby or Michael's. I can't really remember which one it came from. It came from a hobby store, craft store, something like that. The Solar Ease UV resin, the price on that has gotten ridiculous. It's really expensive. It might be better. It might cure a little bit faster, but this works just perfectly fine for me. So let's tie this jig up and let's walk through that process on doing that. And I've got just a 16th ounce pill head, number 4 sickle hook, and a vise. I don't normally record from this angle because it displays my whole mess back here. Believe it or not, it's organized, but it's kind of messy looking, and I'm using the GoPro camera to be able to get it from this angle, and that way we can kind of walk through the process what I do with the UV resin. But we're going to tie one with just hackle feathers. We're going to use just the thread as the body, so that way we get a good, you'll see actually, how I go through all my UV resin. I get a lot of people ask how I store my flash because I've got so much. All right, this is how I store my flash. It's all hanging up right here on the table. It all comes with a wire tie. So I drilled small holes through there and I just push it all in, and while I'm tying, I just reach down and get whatever I need. I just pull a few strands off. And then that way I got my flash all stays in one spot. I don't have it all over the table. I got enough up here on my table, and I didn't need all the flash up there, so I come up with that, and that's how I store all my flash. That way I see what I got, and I know you ain't out buying something that I don't need because I already have it. Tie our flash in, and we're going to put in 2 pieces of hackle. We're going to use a fluorescent green hackle and a yellow hackle. Stack them up on top of each other. Get your stems kind of worked out. Get it kind of even. You end up with those little bitty flyaways right there. Just reach up there and trim that off. Pull that right there on the neck. Tie it in all nice and loose at first. Make sure it's where you want it. And pull it all the way down. And we're going to add a green piece to this side. Back at the flash shop earlier this week, they had gotten some more hackle in. We got good stocked up on hackle. Anybody that was looking to get some from the flash shop, sorry, I probably bought out most of it, but instead of buying the whole packs of like 1/4 ounce strung hackle, I've been getting these. Vineyard short hackles. It already comes, you open that bag up, get a piece of hackle. That's about how long it's going to be. Really cuts down on the waste. Price difference of this is a lot better. It's a lot cheaper than buying a 1/4 ounce of strung hackle. Colors are just a little bit different than getting hackle from Wapsi. It's a little different color schemes, but works perfectly fine. So now we got the neck all wrapped up, ready for our whip finish, and then we're going to put our eyes in, UV resin coat it, and I'll show you the whole process I go through when I resin coat. Trim that tag end off. We're going to go with these, probably going to go with 2 of these little silver eyes right here, because I've already got 6 other ones on this order tied up. They got the same eyes, so we're going to stick with that. I don't think that was the same eye. I think I was using the bigger ones. And this is how I do my eyes. Put it on the tip of my finger, and then I try to get my clumsy fat fingers, get it stuck on the head, press it down on there nice and tight. And if it don't want to stick, I take the UV resin, I put a little drop right there on the side of it, hit it with my UV light, roll it over and do the same thing. And then go back over the whole thing with the UV resin coat. Okay, so now we got both our eyes tied in. Even, I kind of gauge it from the top. I kind of look down from the top and see if the eyes are, look like they're pretty close to the same spot. And you can move them around just a little bit, put a little pressure on them, push them back and forth. You'll usually get them pretty evened out, or you'll knock it off and put another one on. Those eyes they're cheap. They come in huge packs. So I don't, really freak out if one falls to the floor, don't stick or something like that. It's very minimal price for jigs. Brush it all on there nice and good, get the eyes covered, and go down this way and down that way across the eyes, so that way if there's a gap underneath that eye, you're pushing that UV resin down in there. So that you got it on there, you might as well just coat the whole head. It's just a little more insurance that your paint's going to not chip off over time, even if you've put it in the oven, or if you decide you don't want to bake them anymore. I think the UV resin's got you covered. It puts a pretty good seal on that jig head and on the paint. So get it all brushed on there where you got it covered real good. If you get it in the eye, this is a good spot. You might want to try to get it out of the eye before it hardens up. That UV resin, when it cures, it's hard to get out of there. You'll actually have to take a needle or something with really good pinpoint. You have to get it to where it's red hot. You got to shove it back through that eye. So, be careful with that. You're tying a whole bunch of jigs up. It's not like a Walmart jig head where you take another hook and just pop that paint out of that eyelet. That UV resin, you won't be able to get it out with the hook. You'll have to heat something up and push it down in there to be able to get that UV resin out of there. So once I got the jig all covered and coated good, it's on there kind of heavy. So if I leave it like that, it's going to start developing a bubble underneath of it. So what I do is I get my UV light and I start hardening it up just a little bit, so that way I lose that drip. It'll set up within 20 seconds, but it's still going to be tacky and it's still going to be wet, but it's not going to run. So give it a good go over with your UV light. Make sure it's all good and tacky. Like I said, it's not going to be cured at this point. Get it to where it's all cured, where it's set up. It's still wet underneath. It still hasn't cured all the way, but it's not going to drip on you. Turn your light off, set it to the side. I take it out of the vise and I put it in a pair of hemostats. I clamp it down on there where it is sitting up like this, standing straight up. I go over here to my fingernail light. I put it inside and I turn that light on. Then I go back to tying my next jig. Now it's got 3 3 settings on the top. It's got 5 seconds, 30 seconds, 60 seconds. I hit it for 60 seconds. I come back over here, I tie the next jig up. If that light goes off, I reach over, hit the 60-second button again, turn it back on. I finish this jig up, resin coat it, put the next one in a pair of hemostats, and I set them right beside it. Turn the light back on, go back to tying more jigs. That's how I set them up. By the time I get to, I think I got like 5 pairs of hemostats, so by the time I get down to that 5th jig, my first one's usually cured. It's usually set up pretty good. And when you take it out of that light, you might feel, it might feel like it's still a little bit tacky, but it's, if you take them and hang them up, like I got on this rack up here, hang it up there, a few minutes out in the normal air, it'll harden up. And you should be fine. I've not had a problem with any UV resin that I've gone through about it not setting up. So I don't know, I see complaints on Amazon where they say, well, my UV resin didn't harden, never got hard. It makes me curious whether or not they're using black lights or they're using UV lights. There's a big difference, even though Amazon don't really point that out. It'll say black light for UV resin, stuff like that. A black light does not work. It has got to be a UV light. If it's sunny out, I hang them on a rack, I put them outside, and I let them dry in the sun. The sun's the best. We'll cure them fast. This time of year, when it's 12, 15, 20 degrees outside, I don't open a garage door, so I don't take them outside. I got to kind of keep my heat in here. A windowsill where the sunlight's coming in, that's your second best bet. But that's my process. That's what I do with my UV resin coat. Like I said, this came from, it was either Michael's or it came from Hobby Lobby. And I want to say it came from Michael's. I don't think I ever found UV resin at Hobby Lobby. I get these black bottles off Amazon. Once it starts running low, I take the cap off, I fill the bottle back up. The Solar Ease UV resin, there's probably some Solar Ease UV resin in this bottle because the last bottle I bought, I dumped it into here, used it, started running low, bought this. This at whatever hobby store I got it at, Hobby Lobby or Michael's, was only $13 for that 3.68 ounces. It was like 13, 14, 15 bucks. That same bottle of Solar Ease UV resin that size, probably be $60, $70. Not knocking the Solar Ease UV resin. Maybe it's better. Maybe it cures faster. I'm not really in that big of a hurry to get them cured, just as long as they cure. Like I said, the time it takes for me to tie 5 jigs, the first one I put under the light's done, and I just keep rotating them through that fingernail light until I'm completely done with it. When the light shuts off, I just turn it back on, go back to doing my thing. But that's my UV resin. That's how I go through it. This is what I use. I've got another bottle here somewhere too. I got off Amazon. I've tried a couple different bottles. Let's see if I can dig it out of my junk pile up here. This is the other bottle I got. It worked just as good. Still wet. If you transfer them over, make sure you do have it in a black bottle, a very dark bottle, or your normal light. If you got LED lights, it'll cure that stuff. It'll take a while, but you'll come back out the next day to tie jigs and your UV resin's hard as a rock, just because the light got to it. Those are the resins I use. And like I said, I'm not knocking Solar Ease, but to me this works just as good. Just as good. I've tested different brands. I test a lot of different things. Thread, Sally Hansen's Hard as Nails. I do like the Hairline Dubbin Hardest Hole Head Cement, but I ran out and I forgot to get some the last time I was at the flash shop, so I'm back using Sally Hansen's. Sally Hansen's is the best thing about Sally Hansen's Hard as Nails is you can run right down to Walmart and pick it up. You don't have to have a flash shop. You don't have to order it off Amazon. You don't go and get it at Walmart. It comes, the one I get is in the round bottle. There's a couple different size bottles. They both say they do the same thing. This is just the first one I bought when I walked in the store and seen it. and that's one I've always used. So I don't know, I can't tell you what the other bottles are like, whether they work or whether they don't work. You know, give it a shot, experiment some. But that's all I got. That's my UV resin setup. That's what I do. Got any questions, comments, let me know, and I'll try to respond. I'll help you out the best I can. Like I said, experiment with your UV resins. I've never had a jig not cure. I get it on thick and heavy, it might take a little while. I've never had it not cured, and you can tell the UV resin on this one here is thick. You know, and it's not, it's cured all the way down to the hook. You can't scrape it off, you can't scratch it off. I didn't even put a mark in it where I was scratching my fingernail. And that was this one right here, and it cured just fine. Questions, comments, let me know. Send a comment, I'll get back with you. I absolutely want to say thank you to all my subscribers for watching. I think I'm like 7,200 now. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that. You have no idea what it means to know that I've got that many people that watch and, you know, pay attention to what I'm doing, and I'm not going to steer you wrong if I can avoid it. But like I said, there's my UV resin. That's what I do. Send me a comment, like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and it'll let you know next time I post a video. Thanks, folks. That's all I got.